We all face losses and injustices at some point in our lives. These experiences leave deep marks and often seem incomprehensible. Stoicism, a practical and profound philosophy, can serve as a guide through these moments. But how exactly? First, it's essential to understand what the Stoics call the dichotomy of control. According to this view, there are things that are within our control, such as our actions, thoughts, and reactions, and others that are not, like the actions of other people, the weather, or circumstances. Loss and injustice in most cases fall into this second category outside our control. If we allow what we cannot control to destroy us, we are giving away our power over our lives to external factors. From this perspective, Stoicism teaches us that, even in the face of painful situations, our inner peace depends on how we choose to respond. When someone treats us unjustly, we cannot prevent the act itself, but we can decide how to react. We can drown ourselves in resentment and bitterness, or we can view this experience as an opportunity to grow. It's difficult, of course, but as the Stoics taught, true power lies in not allowing our inner peace to be hijacked by what we cannot control. In the face of loss, Stoicism offers a radical approach: to cherish every moment and every person while they are by our side, accepting that everything is transient. According to Seneca, no one can lose what they do not possess. This thought does not seek to diminish the importance of those we love but rather to intensify our gratitude for having them in our lives. By acknowledging the fragility of life, we allow ourselves to feel more deeply without losing ourselves when something is taken from us. So how do we move forward after a loss or injustice? Epictetus reminds us that circumstances are tests of our virtue. Just as the body strengthens with exercise, our minds strengthen by facing challenges. We can choose to see pain and frustration as training for our resilience rather than merely suffering. Of course, none of this means we should be insensitive. Stoicism does not preach emotional detachment but rather the construction of inner strength that allows us to feel pain without being crushed by it. Accepting that life is full of losses and injustices helps us navigate these moments with a bit more lightness, perhaps even gratitude. Because, in the end, it's this very awareness that reminds us we are human, vulnerable, and connected to one another. So, the next time you feel shaken by a loss or injustice, remember, you have the power to choose your response. By controlling our reactions, we cultivate peace, courage, and perhaps a deeper form of freedom. This inner freedom that the Stoics sought is not just a philosophy but a way of life. As Seneca said, adversity brings out talents that, in times of prosperity, would remain dormant. Facing pain and difficulties is not just something that makes us stronger, it reveals a strength we might not have known we possessed. Imagine the pain of losing a loved one. For the Stoics, this moment is an opportunity to practice acceptance. It is natural to feel sadness and longing, and these feelings are part of being human. But instead of trying to deny the pain or letting it consume us, we can choose to honor that person through the lessons and memories they left us. It's a way to keep alive the essence of what that person represented in our lives. Stoicism invites us to find meaning even in what seems unbearable. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the nature of the world is changeable and that life is full of cycles. When we accept that everything has an end, relationships, careers, even our own existence, we paradoxically begin to live more fully because we recognize the value of each moment. It doesn't mean we won't feel sadness, but rather that we learn to live with it without being overwhelmed. Another Stoic practice for dealing with losses and injustices is negative visualization. It may sound strange, but the idea is that by reflecting on the possibility of losing what we have, we come to value it more intensely. Instead of living in fear of loss, we can feel grateful and present with everything we have now. Regarding injustices, Stoicism proposes a view of acceptance without passivity. It's not about accepting injustice as something good, but understanding that our role is to do what we can to act justly, even when the world does not treat us the same way. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. Acting with integrity amidst injustice is a way to demonstrate our strength, our commitment to our values, and our ability to maintain dignity, no matter what happens. Living with a Stoic mindset does not eliminate the pain of losses nor dissolve the frustration of injustices. But it helps us face these moments with clarity and courage. It reminds us that, no matter how difficult situations may be, we have within us the capacity to transform suffering into wisdom and pain into growth. In the end, Stoicism challenges us to see beyond immediate appearances, to not define ourselves by the obstacles we encounter but by how we respond to them. This is the legacy of the great Stoic masters, the idea that we can find meaning, purpose, and even peace, even when life does not give us what we expect. If something robs us of our peace, the Stoics remind us that we always have the power to choose. Even when everything seems to be falling apart, there is an inner flame that no one can extinguish. This is true freedom. And this freedom is what Stoicism seeks to teach us. The strength to remain unshaken, to not allow the external to dictate our internal state. After all, what happens around us is beyond our control, but the way we react to it is entirely our responsibility. When you look at your life now, think, what are you allowing to take away your peace? Is there something that makes you feel anger, fear, or frustration? Perhaps it's a situation you cannot change, or maybe a difficult relationship. Stoic practice invites us to ask two essential questions in the face of these moments. What is within my power to change? And what can I accept as part of what I cannot control? These questions help us recognize what is truly essential for our well-being. They encourage us not to waste energy trying to control what we cannot, but to focus on what is in our hands, such as our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes. One of the greatest lessons the Stoics impart is that every difficulty brings an opportunity. Each obstacle becomes a chance for strengthening and growth. As the famous quote by Marcus Aurelius states, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, what blocks our path can actually guide us toward something greater, to a stronger and more resilient version of ourselves. Thus, Stoicism reminds us that life owes us nothing, and every experience, good or bad, can be an opportunity for development. We are invited to face our fears, insecurities, and the daily challenges with courage, remembering that, in the end, our inner peace is the most precious asset. It is the result of a mind that chooses not to be shaken by circumstances. And this is how the Stoics shape their lives. With the conviction that no matter how intense the storms are outside, there is a place of calm and balance within us that we can always return to. This is the true victory of a Stoic life, living in a way that we never lose our peace, even in the face of the greatest challenges. So, if you seek a life with more purpose, peace, and resilience, perhaps it's time to look at the teachings of the Stoics and apply them, even if gradually, in your daily life. And how to start? Begin simply with small daily practices. Upon waking, take a moment to reflect on the day ahead. Ask yourself, what challenges might I encounter today? How can I respond to them serenely? This brief mental preparation, known as premeditatio malorum by the Stoics, helps remind us that the unexpected is part of life. When we anticipate difficulties, we become less susceptible to being caught off guard by them. Another powerful exercise is to reflect on the day that has passed. Before sleeping, ask yourself, how did I react to today's challenges? Did I act in accordance with my values? This is the time to assess whether you lived with integrity, whether you were patient, just, and courageous, and where you can improve. This practice of self-awareness is essential to Stoicism, as the philosophy is not about being perfect but about improving ourselves a little more each day. Additionally, remember to practice acceptance. Not everything is within our control, and often things do not happen as we would like. In these moments, instead of resisting, Stoicism teaches us to embrace reality with serenity. Acceptance does not mean resignation, but rather recognizing what we cannot change and choosing to focus our energy on what we can, ourselves. Finally, remember memento mori, the constant reminder of our mortality. It may seem grim, but for the Stoics, remembering that life is finite helps us appreciate the present and make decisions aligned with what truly matters. Death, far from being something to fear, is seen as a motivation to live fully, with purpose and presence. Thus, Stoic practice is not a quick fix for all problems but a path that, over time, strengthens us. It teaches us that true peace comes from within, from a mind that chooses to be free from external fluctuations and finds tranquility in its own strength and resilience. So today, carry this message from the Stoics with you. No matter what happens outside, you have the power to choose your reaction, to live with purpose, and to find peace, not in the absence of problems but in how you deal with them. This is the essence of Stoicism, to cultivate a robust and balanced mind that remains serene even amid turbulence. After all, challenges, surprises, and difficulties are inevitable, but suffering, at least to some extent, is optional. By changing our perspective and accepting that life is not a straight line, we become less hostage to circumstances. And remember, living Stoicism does not mean repressing emotions or acting like a cold, unyielding stone. On the contrary, it means learning to recognize our emotions, understanding what is within our control and what is not, and making more conscious choices. This is to become the master of oneself, the true freedom of those who do not rely on others to find inner peace. Stoicism invites us to reflect on our brevity, our fragility, and at the same time, our infinite capacity for growth. It reminds us that we are part of something greater, that every action and choice we make has an impact, and that each day offers a new chance to get closer to our best selves. So, the next time you face an obstacle, ask yourself, what is under my control right now? Use this question as a guide, like a compass that always points to what you can truly do. And by practicing this daily, you will not only seek peace but also build a legacy of inner strength. After all, being stoic is having the courage to live with purpose, serenity, and wisdom, even in an unpredictable world. Let's conclude with a practical and direct perspective on how you can apply Stoicism in your life. Throughout the day, adopt small rituals of reflection to strengthen this mindset. For example, upon waking, you can practice negative visualization. Briefly imagine that everything you have today might not be there tomorrow. This helps you appreciate what you have and prepares you for changes. During the day, use the technique of distinguishing control in every decision, whether it's a meeting at work or a problem at home. Ask yourself, is this truly within my control? If the answer is no, allow yourself to let go. Instead of wasting energy trying to change the uncontrollable, invest it where your action can truly make a difference. In the evening, reflect on your actions. The exercise of daily reviewing is powerful for personal growth. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? How did I let emotions or impulses guide me? This critical yet gentle reflection is essential for Stoic development, as it does not seek perfection but rather continuous improvement. Practicing Stoicism is a personal journey that involves persistence, self-awareness, and patience. The Stoic does not seek a life free of problems but rather a life of purpose and acceptance of reality. By applying these principles daily, you gain a deeper sense of emotional control, mental clarity, and satisfaction with the present. Remember, Stoicism is more than a philosophy, it's a practice for living fully. With every challenge, you have the opportunity to grow. By focusing on what you can control and accepting what you cannot, you achieve a peace that does not depend on circumstances but rather on your own resilience and wisdom. So let's practice. Focus on the essential, accept uncertainties, and above all, cultivate serenity in the face of chaos. Remember, the practice of Stoicism does not need to be a rigid process, but rather a daily exercise of self-improvement and self-compassion. The idea is not to become insensitive or detached from emotions, but to learn how to handle them consciously. After all, it's natural to experience fear, anger, and anxiety, but what sets us apart is how we choose to respond to these feelings. Imagine that each difficult situation is a kind of training to strengthen your capacity for rational response. By cultivating this serene response, you begin to see the world more clearly and, interestingly, feel more empathy for the people around you. Stoicism encourages a life not of isolation, but of real connection with the world, seeing people as they are while also focusing on your own growth. By practicing these principles, you will find more strength to face difficulties, greater resilience for the challenges of everyday life, and more peace to accept what is beyond your control. Gradually, this Stoic perspective will integrate into your life, becoming less of a conscious exercise and more of a way of being. So start with small steps. Be mindful of your choices, exercise patience, and observe the changes this brings to your life. Stoicism is a process, a continuous journey of self-discovery. The next time you feel overwhelmed, remember, you have the power to choose how to respond. And that choice in itself is a significant act of freedom.